Now, it's been over 100 days since the uprising, and Iran continues its clampdown against anti-hijab protesters. Tehran has now announced death penalty for 2 teenagers for their involvement in the massive protests that have rocked the country. Among the 2 protesters facing the death charge is 18-year-old Mehdi Mohammad Ifard. As per the Iran human rights group, he has been convicted of setting alight a traffic police kiosk in the western town of Nowshera. The IHR group says that the death sentence was issued by a revolutionary court in the provincial capital of Sari, and it came after he was convicted of the capital charges of corruption and enmity against God. The double conviction means that he has been given 2 death sentences. Meanwhile, the Iranian judiciary's news website also reported that the death sentence of another protester, Mohammad Boroghani, had been upheld in December. The 19-year-old was convicted on charges of enmity against God as well. The Oslo-based Iran human rights group says that Boroghani is accused of wounding a security personnel with a knife with the intent of killing him, as well as sowing terror among citizens. Analysts and experts say that Tehran has been using death sentences as a way to intimidate people after it failed to quell the nationwide unrest. 2 23-year-old men have already been executed over the protest that was sparked by the death of Mahsa Amini back in September of 2022. The Iranian judiciary until now has handed down a total of 11 death sentences in connection with the protests, which Iranian officials describe as riots. Amid the non-stop protests on Monday, the Iranian police resumed its warnings that women must wear mandatory headscarves in public, even in their cars. Meanwhile, British media reports say that London might soon declare the Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group. This after it arrested 7 people who were linked to the UK over anti-government protests. As per the Telegraph, the move will be announced in the coming weeks. If the Revolutionary Guard gets proscribed as a terror group, then it would become a criminal offence to belong to the group, attend its meetings or carry its logo in public. For more on this, we are being joined by Alex Grinberg from Israel, who is a political analyst. Welcome to WION.
Good morning. How are you?
Now, sir, if London declares the Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group, what could be possible repercussions? Britain has an embassy in Tehran as well.
I don't think it will have any real practical repercussions, except only one, that the prospects for reviving the process of negotiations about the nuclear deal with Iran are dim. But I don't think it will have a real impact on the behavior of the Iranian regime that keeps executing demonstrators and protesters.
So do you feel that Iran is going to back off at any point, or are they going to compromise on their ideals or their way of tackling this entire uprising? Because the uprising is not stopping, and neither is the Iran government backing off from the way they're tackling the situation. So what's the eventuality of this?
No, I don't think Iran is going to back off from its ideology, because this regime is an ideological regime. It is not just a dictatorship with an army at helm that they can come to a compromise with the protesters. It is impossible, because if they decide to give up one of the tenets of the Islamist ideology, like the hijab, it will signal the readiness of the regime in the eyes of protesters for further concessions, and that is unacceptable for the regime. On the other hand, the regime is also struggling for its political life and survival. They don't have any place in the world to run away or to escape.
Now, so with the momentum that these protests have gathered, the entire world is now looking at Iran. Anything happens in Iran, the entire world is talking about it. Is it also creating more pressure for the regime to ensure that they do not back off from what they're doing? Because they are essentially now going to set a standard about what they are going to compromise on and what they are not. So what does that mean for people in Iran who are continuing to protest? Are they looking at more death sentences in times to come?
Unfortunately, yes, because the international support for the protest cannot stop the regime unless it becomes an overt intervention, military intervention in Iran. On the other hand, again, this regime can, on the one hand, it cannot afford to give up its tenets. On the other hand, it is keen on preserving its image. And this current behavior tarnishes its image as the Islamic regime that came to power as a result of the protest against the tyranny of Shah. And now they're reiterating the same mass killing that they impute to the former Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi.
Thank you so much for those updates, Alex. We'll be in touch for more.
Thank you.